Spartans and those in the community, I share your concerns. The charges announced today are not reflective of my values nor the university's culture. In fact, our department's core values, what coaches, staff, and student athletes are expected to embrace, have been challenged. But those values continue to rise as our source of collective direction during these times. Respect. Respect for yourself and respect for others. A positive attitude. Continuous improvement. Accountability. One focus while being part of a larger team. And integrity. My expectations are that everyone within the athletic department, every member of our staff, every one of our 800 student athletes will strive to focus on these words and their meanings in their personal approach to work, pursuit of education, and their everyday life. My assessment of each of our 25 sports and the coaching staffs that lead them is focused on three general categories: academic success, athletic success, and social behavior and engagement. With much improvement and success in these areas, in football over the previous 9 years, 2016 was a difficult year in all three. My expectations are that it will not continue. Coach Dantonio and our assistant coaches are accountable to develop leaders on the field and in life. Student athletes also need to be held accountable to the principles of respect and kindness. We owe them that. There are countless positive stories to tell about Spartan football and our student athletes, but today we're not focused on those. We're focused on responding and getting better. This will happen with the support of others in our department and across our campus and community. As the Jones Day report stated and was released yesterday, Coach Dantonio and our administrative staff took prompt and decisive action. Athletic department staff were cooperative throughout the investigations, and it was imperative that we, as an athletic department, did not intervene, or influence those investigations. Patience was a necessary part of that process for all of us. The football program receives extensive education and training. It is frequent and ongoing. This training is direct and aimed at real-life scenarios, including leadership, respect for others, prevention of sexual assault and domestic violence, and includes consistent messages from a variety of programs and speakers. We will continue to educate, continue to search for new and relevant messages that will make a difference for our football team, athletic department, and all of campus. This is my home. It's where my wife and I attended school, where one son and my daughter earned their degree, where my other son will enroll this fall. I expect my home to be safe. Safe to all that live here and safe to all that visit. Like any home, its safety requires shared responsibility and accountability. As athletic director, I am responsible to make tomorrow better than today. I've assigned Jennifer Smith, Alan Haller, and Elliot Daniels to oversight roles in areas within our football program. It does not diminish the coaching staff's accountability nor my expectations of them for the recruitment and leadership of our student athletes. Rather, it is to ensure that we have programmatic systems in place that are efficient and effective. I continue to listen and engage with student athletes, students, faculty and staff, campus and community leaders on issues, including frank conversations about today's topic. I offer my deepest compassion to the young woman and her family. Sexual assault has no place on our campus, on any college campus. In fact, there is no culture where it's acceptable for one person to abuse another. Systems are in place here at Michigan State, but like any place else, they have to continue to improve. Improve in order to prevent and to respond. Improve in order to keep pace with today's society. Voices must be heard. Bystanders must react. Care and compassion provided to survivors. And we all, everyone, men and women, the entire community must do their part to stop the behaviors of abuse. I promise you that I will do my part. In the end, a person simply has to care enough about another person. Those are my comments for today. I'm now going to introduce Coach Dantonio to make his comments.
Thank you, Mark. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here today. We've understood from the beginning of this situation that there was a legal process that needed to take place to ensure fairness to everyone involved. We've been respectful of that process for the past 4 months. In response to today's charges, Josh King, Donnie Corley, and Demetric Vance have been dismissed from our program effective immediately. When we choose student athletes to come to MSU, we enter into a relationship with them and their families, and we welcome them into ours. We emphasize that success on the field is not enough. I say oftentimes, with success comes greater responsibility. I made clear all of this when all 3 individuals were suspended 4 months ago upon learning of these allegations. They also must embrace our core principles, which include integrity, as Mark talked about, respect, accountability, trust, and communication. The individuals in this case put themselves in a compromising position and did not live up to the standards we have outlined for this program. Sexual assault has no place in this community. Like Mark, I have had 2 daughters that have gone to school here. I understand the importance that that last statement has in their lives and the lives of so many others here at Michigan State. I want to share my deep concern for the young woman affected and her family by this situation. This is and has been an extremely challenging situation that we've taken very seriously throughout the entire process. It has affected everyone in this program, top to bottom. From the people that cover this, to our athletic director, our president, our board of trustees, to our coaches, our players, everybody, to the families. The high standards I have established for this program will not change. The values that we teach to everyone in this program will be enforced. I expect all of our players and staff to conduct themselves in a manner that reflects the ideals of this university. At some point in time, we knew this would end. And we prepared ourselves for this moment. So the moment has arrived now. We've endured the process. Now we're here to answer questions on this, and this is why we came today. This is the reason we're here today, talk about this subject matter. So I'll take some questions, and then we'll take it from there.
Mark, the decision in this case to go ahead and dismiss these guys immediately without waiting for the process, what was the thought process there in deciding to do it at this point?
Well, that was my decision. The thought process behind this was, quite frankly, there's been numerous amount of education thrown at our players, especially our freshman group, from the time that they've gotten here. 1 week before the episode, we had our Title IX administrator come in and again talk specifically about a case at another university in this country. So the education I felt was there, and they compromised themselves by getting them involved in such a situation. You know, you have to look at certain things at times, I think, and you ask yourself, well, did they break the law? Or, you know, that's to be discovered at, I guess, at a later time. But you have to ask yourself about the morals involved in this. And from my perspective, the morals were not where they needed to be. And conversely, this decision was going to be made upon recognition of the facts.
Mark, revisiting Austin Robertson's situation, can you go through the process that you guys had in vetting him at first and how he ended up on campus and what precautions you took with him?
Well, first of all, I think that's a long answer to a question. Secondly, I've dismissed Austin Robertson from this football team. It was done very quickly. I talked about that the last time I had a statement made, so I'm going to stay with the course of this. The conversations to me today need to be centered on what's gone on today.
Mark, what was your rationale for not renewing Curtis Blackwell's contract at the end of May, and did you have information from the Jones Day report when you made that decision?
No, I did not have information from the report in that regard, but, I made the decision on that. It was basically a philosophical change. We evaluated everything. There was a change. We need to be able to move forward, and this decision was made.
Prior to the alleged sexual assault, Mark, did any Michigan State employee come to you and voice concerns about Curtis Blackwell at all?
Prior to
the alleged sexual incident?
well, we were in the process at that point in time of evaluating our entire staff and responsibilities and getting feedback from everybody. So I can't say whether it was before or after, but we had conversations. As I said, it was philosophical differences.
Mark, can you talk a little bit more about the steps that you took since learning of the allegations? We were told that it was swift and it was done the correct way. What is the correct way? What did you do?
I think that's outlined in the Jones report. For me to sit and go through all of that, what I can tell you is we took immediate action. I felt like prior to that event in August that we had been educated and had about a 3-hour seminar on things of this nature, and we were prepared to take the correct actions.
Mark, over the course of, I guess, about 15, 16 years, or really and throughout your entire coaching career, how have you handled these type of situations when sexual assault cases come up? And has there been changes in the past years with more emphasis around the campus on that?
Well, this is new ground for us. We've been here 11 years. That has not happened previously. So this has been a little bit of a learning experience from what I can tell. As you all know, I think when you look across the country right now, there are issues. There are issues that need to be explored, and people need to continue to be educated, and you do the very best you can do in that endeavor. But from my perspective, a lot of this really took off this past year, the education components. I'm talking mainly about the education components and how we try to do everything possible from our end in educating our players. But I think we have to realize that the education comes in a controlled environment, much like a classroom environment many times. And when they're out there in real life, you're in an uncontrolled environment. And when you're in an uncontrolled environment, things occur.
Coach, you are getting into now the point in the summer where you guys are going to start activities soon, getting back on the field. How does something like this affect the rest of your players, and how do you talk to them about something like this?
Well, I don't think there's any question that we've been painted with a brush. And everybody needs to understand that, top to bottom. And we've got a lot of great young men on our football team. A lot of young people that are doing many things in our community. A lot of guys who do an outstanding job in the classroom, on the football field, and off the field. So we need to reaffirm those things, and we need to get ready to play football games. It's been a tough 9 months, not just 6. It's been a tough 9 months, with the season, etc., with these things that have occurred in the last 6 months. But you see problems, you push through problems. That's always been my way of dealing with things, and that's what we would continue to do. But I feel like today is an end point in some respects for us in some ways, and it's a new beginning for some of us. So we need to take advantage of that. Our players will be available here. We will get back to business as usual. Our players will be available either at the end of this week or early next week. And I think that those are questions that you can ask them.
You started by talking about the principles you've tried to instill in this program. In the past 6 months, you've had several arrests, both the sexual assault and some other nature, and you've had other problems with academics and people leaving the program for, I think, what was deemed insensitive comments. Do you feel that those principles are eroding or have been eroding here in the past year?
Say the last part of your question.
Do you feel that
about
the principles that you've instilled in the program have eroded here in the past year?
I think you always have to stay on task. I think everything is always changing. You know, as I just mentioned, we have a lot of people doing exactly the right thing. We've had one incident that involved 3 people. We had another incident that involved 1. We have 120 players usually on our football team. So we've had 11 years of this, of us being here. So from that standpoint, I don't think our principles, if anything, I would think our principles are, we're recentering ourselves. We're coming back and saying, these are our principles, these are what we stand for, these are the things that we're going to enforce, much like you just heard Mark Hollis talk about. These are the ramifications of the things that have gone on. So if anything, I think that we're reinforcing our principles, that our principles are not going away, they're being strengthening. Sometimes it takes a crisis to bring people back to point. Sometimes it takes a crisis to recenter yourself, to make everybody drive between the lines or to go the speed limit. And to me, this is the way I have to take this. I have to look at this and say that we are recentering ourselves, we are moving forward, and we're going to do it with direction, and we're going to do it with strength.
I know Mark outlined a few things evaluating the players you bring on campus. Do you feel that you will personally reevaluate the way that you vet players and look at them as you bring them into the program?
Well, we've never intentionally brought a guy in here that I say, hey, that guy's going to be a bad guy. Obviously, we took a risk, as we said earlier, and we vetted a young man. Prior to that, that has never happened. And so, as I can recollect. But I feel that we bring players here that are highly recruited young people that have been talked about in their high school in a favorable way, not just as a football player, but as a person, that have their respect of their community intact and within their high schools, and that have established themselves not just as a football player, but as a person in other areas as well. And that's what we've tried to recruit, and I think we've done a good job doing that. And when you sit and you talk to the majority of our players, I think you find that. How one gets to this point is troubling. With education and different things of that nature, how people get to this point of morality, you can speak to the world a little bit about that. Okay, but nevertheless, we have to endure it. We have to deal with it. We have to continue to educate, and we have to be responsible for it to some degree.
Mark, can you provide any more details about the new oversight structure that Mark Hollis mentioned in his comments with 3 administrators playing a role overseeing the program?
I think anytime you do anything, you're always trying to make yourself better, whether that's as a football program or that's as an athletic department. So anything that we can do to keep us on task, or everything we can do to bounce things off different people, or for people to be in our team meetings and see what's going on, I think is a positive. But, that's how I would see it.
Mark, that brush you referred to can be unfairly broad. When you recruit a player here, you make an investment in them. You offer them a scholarship and education. Given that and the time you spend in educating your players, with these 3 players in particular, do you feel betrayed at all?
I'm angry. I don't want to say betrayed. I'm angry. I feel like the education was there. I feel like I've talked about their sense of responsibility that our players have. Not to be a good football player, but to be a good person, to do their very best. But, when you're a coach at a major college or any high school, you're used to disappointment, and you deal with disappointment. And you factor in things and say, okay, we're going to get better. But as this has gone on, There's been a lot of sleepless nights. There's been a lot of times where I have to sit and I listen and I think about the things that are happening. So take it for what it is.
The alleged victim's attorney talked about a sense of entitlement that comes with these players who have so much talent and have had so much success. Do you see that as an issue, and can you as a coach do anything about that part?
I think that when they make that kind of statement, you know, you're speaking to to an entire mass of people, and I think that's hard to differentiate. As I said, in an uncontrolled environment, you know, things occurred. Obviously, I would like to think that everybody coming from anywhere to Michigan State is entitled, first of all. Whether you come here as a football player, as a student, you are entitled. And we have to guard against that, and we have a sense of responsibility. We try extremely hard in the football program to bring them down to ground level. And usually that happens because they're surrounded by older players and players that are more gifted than they are on the field and know their way around. And so there's that process of maturing. But I would not say that everybody comes here and entitlement is an issue.
Coach, you mentioned being father of daughters. For that parent who has a daughter thinking about sending them to Michigan State and has seen this all play out and maybe is having second thoughts, what's your message to that parent?
This is a safe place. As I said earlier, Michigan State, the athletic department, and the football department are all recentering ourselves and making sure that these things do not happen, doing everything possible. The world is not a safe place. It's just not. It's more dangerous now maybe than it's ever been. So you take that in respect to what's going on in this country. I can tell you that Michigan State is a safe place. I can tell you that the police do a great job here. I can tell you that there is systems in place, that there are people at the top that genuinely care, as you just heard Mark talk, that genuinely care about the well-being of every student, male and female, here at this university, faculty and staff. And things are in place to protect them.
Mark, the decision to kick the 3 players off the team, was that yours alone, or did you get any input from your Eagle Council?
That's my decision. At this point in time, that was my decision.
Mark, you didn't get into coaching to deal with this. It comes with the territory. At any point in the last several months, did you consider walking away from this?
No. I don't think you walk away from problems. I think that, again, as I said earlier in my time here, you're hired here to handle the problems. That's why you're hired here. That's why you're asked to do what you do. You know, so 3-9, yeah, that's difficult. We'll push through. This thing that's occurred is very, very difficult. As I said earlier, I didn't even want to talk about football for the last 6 months because of this situation. And we had refrained from doing that because of the seriousness of this. So, but I was hired here to do a job. I believe that the people that hired me have faith in me as a person to do right to the very best of my ability. And I have complete confidence in our coaches and our players, and I have a lot of confidence in myself that we can deliver. That's what we'll do. Yes. You know, when I look back and I talk about the 3 players we're talking about today and the recruitment of them, again, everything was positive. You know, as a recruiter, you come into contact with these players, with our players, in a controlled environment. 1, 3, 5, if somebody lives here close, maybe 15 times, but you don't live with them. You don't live with them. You also have to understand that people are going to make mistakes too. Sometimes these mistakes are life-altering. Other times mistakes are not. But it's very difficult to predict the future. And we do our very, very best to vet the process. But as you can see across the country and across the nation, in not just sport, but in jobs and everything else, the process doesn't always work. We do the very best we can. And I don't look back and look at the things that I can't change. Yes, ma'am. You know, we've had a lot of success here, tremendous amount of success here on the football field, and I would say educationally as well. Graduate 85% of our guys that have exhausted their eligibility. We've not had problems. I would say last year, if you came up here to talk, we probably were, on the cusp of being exactly what you want in the major college football. But 1 year has changed some of that, a lot of that. So now we have to deal with that aspect of our program, and we have to change it back. So hard work's always difficult, but we're focused. I think I said after the season, I think I commented on my understanding of that we need to recenter ourselves even before this episode, just relative to football. And we needed to come back with a sense of direction, a sense of purpose, and those type of things. And we needed to make it, and I needed to challenge myself to be the new coach and look at things in different ways, and do some different things. So that's going to happen. When you have a tough year, that happens. I wish I could say everybody has a tough year. Maybe they don't. But more often than not, they probably do. No, I don't have any regrets about bringing Curtis in. It's just things changed this year. Up to that point, I think we were going in the same direction, but this past 4 or 5 months, I believe that philosophy has changed. No. This is outside of that.
Questions for Coach?
Okay, thank you very much.
This situation all began on January the 16th with the alleged assault that took place in an on-campus apartment. Michigan State would hire an external Title IX investigator in early February. A week later, the suspensions of 3 players, at that point unnamed, announced. A staff member was also suspended. On February the 16th, Michigan State Police requested 4 arrest warrants. Fast forward to May the 31st, that staffer, identified as Curtis Blackwell, saw his contract expire and would not be renewed. Just yesterday, an external investigation finding Mark Dantonio did not violate school policy. And then on Tuesday, Michigan State announcing those 3 players, Donnie Corley, Josh King, and Demetric Vance, have been dismissed from the Michigan State football program effective immediately after each was charged with varying degrees of criminal sexual conduct.